Year 722. The world ended. This is not a metaphor for the men and women hiding in these mountains. For them, the end was real. Civilization did not collapse slowly. It vanished in just 11 years. A storm of steel rose from the desert and smashed the Visigothic kingdom into fragments. Toledo, Zaragoza, Seville. Cities that had stood for generations burned in days. Roads filled with refugees. Churches fell silent. The old order disappeared almost overnight. We lost our land. We lost our laws. We lost the illusion that the world was stable. We fled north, chased by fire and fear, until the sea blocked our path. Behind us, only water. Ahead of us, the greatest army the world had ever seen, the Caliphate. The Umayyad dynasty ruled from India to the Pyrenees. From the Indus to the Atlantic. An empire without equal. Disciplined. Relentless. Certain of its destiny. And in the heart of this colossal empire, one point of resistance remained. A cave. 300 starving men. No walls. No reinforcements. No escape. If they fell today, Spain would never be born. To understand why Covadonga is remembered as a miracle, we must first understand how close everything came to disappearing. How many patrols have passed since nightfall? No one knows anymore. Time itself had lost meaning. We were once nobles, landowners, men with titles and lineages. Now we were refugees, the wreckage of a drowned kingdom. Do you know what hurts more than hunger? Shame. 10 years ago, I owned land and commanded men. Today, I sleep in the mud and fight rats for a piece of old bread. They call us an army. Look at us. We are ghosts. Morale was broken long before swords reached the north. Many believed the invasion was divine punishment. For the sins of Visigothic kings. For betrayal. For corruption and decadence. All of it had been paid for in blood at Guadalete. That battle did not just destroy an army. It destroyed belief. The conquerors did not only take cities. They conquered minds. They offered peace. Low taxes. Order. Stability. They promised protection in exchange for submission. The temptation to surrender was constant. They said Córdoba had running water. They said Christians could pray freely, if they paid tribute. Why should we die here, Pelayo? Because tribute is not just money, my friend. It is your memory. The memory of your ancestors. And the memory of those who will come after you. I know we hang by a thread. I know hope grows heavier with every sunrise. But have faith. Faith in God, and in ourselves. But I want to live, Pelayo. My wife is sick. What chance do 300 half-starved men have, men who can barely lift a spear, against the greatest army our eyes have ever seen? If we descend now and submit, nothing of what we were will survive. Our names will fade. Our homes will no longer be ours. Our children will grow up serving other men and another God. Yes, you may live a little longer, but you will live bent. Here, on this rock, we will suffer hunger and cold. Here, we will bleed. But here, we will remain who we are. God is witness. We do not seek death, but we will not accept the life of the defeated. We may fall, and none of us may see tomorrow, but we will not fall as slaves. We will fall as free men. Let God decide our end, but let the world know that here stood men who did not surrender. Pelayo, later remembered as the first king of the kingdom of Asturias, was a cornered man who chose to draw a line in the earth. A single, almost absurd sentence in the face of annihilation. They shall not pass. The caliphate was in a hurry. For them, the northern mountains were an inconvenience. A poor, cold, insignificant corner, according to Muslim chronicles. They sent General Alcama with nearly 2,000 men, infantry and cavalry, to erase the problem. With him came Bishop Opers, a man who represented surrender wrapped in reason. Opers was the key figure of this tragedy. The collaborator. The man who believed resistance was foolish. I saved lives, he said. I prevented the sack of Toledo. I understood that the winds of history had changed. Pelayo is a fanatic who will sacrifice his people for pride. God has delivered the kingdom to Islam, and to resist is to resist the will of God. Opers climbed to the cave to negotiate. Pelayo was waiting. Two men. Two visions of survival. Surrender, or resist. You are surrounded. The mountain passes are sealed. Hope does not stop arrows. Swear loyalty. Pay tribute. Live. Tell your general we do not want his peace. A life bought with obedience is not life. Do you see that crack in the rock? From here, something will begin that you cannot stop. The mustard seed is small, Bishop, but God makes it grow. Opers lowered his head and withdrew. In the valley, war drums began to thunder. The giant prepared to crush the insect. Pelayo's strategy was desperate because there was no alternative. Covadonga was not a battlefield. It was a funnel. A narrow throat of stone where numbers meant nothing and discipline became a weakness. Confident in their superiority, Alcama's army entered the gorge. Hundreds advanced in tight formation between sheer cliffs. We watched them enter and believed it was the end. Then Pelayo raised his hand. They had no longbows. No catapults. No room to maneuver. We had stones. We had logs. And we had gravity. Let the earth fall. Rocks shattered shields and bodies. The vanguard collapsed and blocked the passage. Panic spread. Pelayo's warriors charged without retreat behind them. And then, the impossible unfolded. A storm broke. Arrows turned back with the wind. Horses panicked and plunged into the abyss. They were not invincible. Alcama fell. And with him fell the idea that the caliphate could not be resisted. They fled through the mountains in terror. When night fell, silence returned to Covadonga. The ground was red. 300 men had stopped an empire. There were no victory songs. No celebrations. Of nearly 300 defenders, only 40 saw another sunrise. For Damascus, it was a minor incident. For history, it was a fracture. But Covadonga did not end that night. In the days that followed, rumors spread faster than armies. Shepherds whispered of angels. Travelers spoke of thunder without clouds. Pelayo claimed no miracle. He buried the dead, tended the wounded, and prepared for what would come next. Men began to arrive. Not armies. Individuals. Farmers who had hidden their tools. warriors who had buried their swords, families who refused to forget. Covadonga became more than a place. It became a symbol. Pelayo understood that symbols are dangerous. They attract hope and enemies. He did not march south. He did not challenge the empire openly. He waited. He learned the mountains. He secured the passes. Time became his ally. The caliphate ruled half the known world. But size is not strength everywhere. Distance weakens power. Attention shifts. Rebellions ignite elsewhere. The North remained cold, poor, and stubborn. What began as survival slowly became identity. Not Visigothic. Not Roman. Something new. A people defined not by conquest, but by refusal. Pelayo ruled little land, but he ruled it freely. He was not a conqueror. He was a founder. From this spark would come Isturias. From Isturias, Leon. From Leon, Castile. Not in one generation, but over centuries. Advance. Retreat. Defeat, recovery. 770 years of endurance. Most of the men who fought at Covadonga never knew any of this. They did not fight for a nation they could name. They fought because some lines, once crossed, erase a people forever. That is why Covadonga matters. Not because 300 defeated thousands, but because inevitability was broken. The world did not end in the year 722. For some, it began again. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Any support is welcome. Until next time, your friend in history.